Well, officially, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We'll just take a moment as individuals continue to come on for our Black History Month keynote presentation this afternoon. So again, welcome, and thank you to everyone for attending this presentation of Voice and Aspiration and Still We Thrive, the Black History Month presentation today. I'm Darlene Williston. I'm the manager of the CREC Foundation and a proud member of the Black Employee Network group. So on behalf of the network, thank you all for tuning in today to listen to the presentation by Abdul. We're looking very much so forward to it. And I'm going to hand it over to Sharon now to do introductions.
Thank you, Darlene. And also want to thank the Black Employee Network for this event. As a proud member, I'm so thankful for everything that's being done this month. My name is Sharon Smalls. For those who don't know me, I'm a school social worker for CREC Museum Academy. And I have the honor and privilege on this afternoon to introduce our keynote speaker, who is none other than Abdul-Rahmaan Muhammad. He is a native of White Plains, New York, currently resides in the Hartford area. A founder and CEO of My People Services, which has a clinical and community service component, doing great work in this area. He's a man of many hats, an entrepreneur, international social worker, a motivational speaker, spoken word artist, and more. Abdul is a graduate of Tougaloo College, HBCU in Jackson, Mississippi, and he also has his MSW from Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. My People Clinical Services, the motto is to enable my people to help your people so that our people will succeed. So he is very competent and very capable on today to speak to us about thriving, about striving. His old approach to business and community is all about collaboration and bringing people together to obtain really one result for us all to succeed, particularly those of us who have been markers of the oppressed, who have been down and out, those who are struggling clinically, those who are struggling in any way, shape, or form, for us to get from surviving to thriving. For those who might be not so familiar with My People, you may have heard of an agency called the Dream Support Network. Abdul is the founder and CEO of that, currently directed by Matthew Rivera. And you may have seen an ice cream truck around the neighborhood, giving ice cream to those who share their dreams. He is considered the dream chaser #1. He is that guy. So when we talk about thriving, he is someone who matches not only his attitude and his optimism with his work, but just also that thing that he's able to share and spread with other people. It's truly contagious, and I'm proud to know him. He is a member of the Organization of Black Social Workers, amongst other things, and my brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Without further ado, if there's any more information he would like to share, I introduce to you now, Mr. Abdul-Rahmaan Muhammad. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. That was a great introduction. I appreciate that. You did a little homework. You threw White Plains in there. I like that. Good morning, everyone. Happy Black History Month. I don't know if people say Happy Black History Month, but I'm gonna start throwing that out there. We can just use that all throughout the month of February. When I was asked to do this presentation today, I was very excited about it, being asked to do the presentation. And like I said, I've been writing different versions of the same speech over the last month. And so if you just bear with me today, I feel like I'm gonna take you on a journey. I call this Black History in 8 parts. And so if you just bear with me, hopefully you'll enjoy my presentation. Voice and aspiration, and still we thrive. Voice, the sound produced in a person's larynx and uttered through the mouth as speech or song, a particular opinion or attitude expressed. Aspiration, hope or ambition or of achieving something, the action of process of drawing breath.
Southern trees, barren, strange, blood on the leaves, and blood. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South. Them big bulges and the twisted mouth. Scent of magnolia, clean and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck. The rain to give for the wind to fall asleep to rot. For the leaves to drop. Here is strange and bitter cry.
One of the things about Black History Month is that we must remember. We have to remember parts of our history that don't make us feel so good. So I'll come back again and I'll say Happy Black History Month, but I thought it was important to put an image in your mind to help you remember some of the things that we had to go through during our history, some of the experiences that we had to have. There have been, hopefully, this isn't the only Black History Month event that you're gonna go to, that you went to this month, where, we're 23 days in, and my hope is that, you've been to other events, and if not, you still have 5 days where you can go out and experience a Black History Month event, or you can support a Black business. As a matter of fact, you can support Black businesses for the rest of the year. You could go out for the rest of the year and support a Black business anytime you would like. And so, you know, because you don't just support them in Black History Month. You know, I'd like to start off by thanking the committee for asking me to come in today. Like I said before, I was very excited about doing a Black History Month speech. You know, you start diving into the history of our people, and you find information, and then one thing leads to another thing and another thing. And the thing that I found so interesting this year as I was doing my research is that everything you think you know, there's more to what you think you know. Everything, like, you know, when you think about Black history, the first thing that comes to mind is slavery, right? It's like slavery is a part of it. But one of the things that I learned this year is right out the gate is that there was slavery, of course, but there were people who were, you know, going to college, starting businesses in the 1700s. Black people were doing many things that we never even spoke of. A lot of the Black firsts were happening in the 17 and 1800s before slavery was ever over. And so I just thought it was a very amazing thing. As I delved deeper and deeper into our culture, it made me realize that, you know, African Americans were not, there wasn't just one story for African Americans. Simultaneously, there were multiple stories going on. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Black lives matter. When we run fast and jump high, when we sing, dance, and rap, or when we best in class, dressed up sharp in a suit and tie. Black lives matter when we die. I mean, when we're shot by shook cops, or we're choked on city blocks, or we are shot when we walk away, or we are shot in our beds, asleep after a long day. Black lives matter. That's what the signs say. That's what streets in major cities say. That's what politicians say. That's what protesters say. But what does anyone do? Assault Black lives, betray Black lives, criticize Black lives, dominate Black lives, erase Black lives, fire Black lives, gun down Black lives, harm Black lives, ignore Black lives, jeopardize Black lives, kill Black lives, limit Black lives, murder Black lives, neglect Black lives, ostracize Black lives, penalize Black lives, question Black lives, rape Black lives, sexualize Black lives, torture Black lives, use Black lives, victimize Black lives, weaponize Black lives, X out Black lives, yell all lives matter instead of Black lives, and no one knows a word that starts with Z for Black lives, but the amount they care about Black lives is zero. Give me my flowers before I die. I have no desire to be a hot hashtag or mural. Love me today. Really tell me you love me today. March over here and tell me you love me. Rally around me and tell me you love me. Write your love on a sign. Sign a petition that says you love me. If you're going to protest, I want you to protest the fact that you haven't told me that you love me. And when you do, I'll tell you that I love you back, and I'll tell you that Black lives matter. Black lives matter like I can breathe. Aspiration. Suck in air so deep, pull leaves from trees. Trees, Black bodies hung from and hid behind on the Underground Railroad. Trees that stood strong and witnessed countless atrocities occurring under their shade. Trees with branches that stretch wide and roots that go deep. While our branches have been cut short, while our connection to our roots perished in oceans, our roots were sold on auction blocks, enslaved, treated like livestock. Our roots were contaminated like the water in Flint. Our roots were raped and impregnated, producing children who would be segregated. Our roots struggled for freedom, for peace, for humanity, for respect, to be recognized as a man. I am a man. That's what the signs said. And what the signs say now is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter like Black love, Black boy joy, and Black girl magic. No need to point out Black on Black crime to try to give us a black eye. No one ever talks about white on white crime because that would be like calling the kettle black. Why are you only interested in Black exploitation? Why do you want to beat us black and blue? Don't you know that black don't crack? That even though you treat us like the black sheep of the family, we will still shine like a black star. And you know the fact that once you go black, you never go back. Black Lives Matter. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. When Carter G. Woodson created Negro History Week, he made it in February because Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass's birthdays were in February. Frederick Douglass was one of the most famous men of his time. He escaped slavery at age 20 when he became, and went on to become one of the most important political activists fighting for emancipation and equality for all people. He published 3 autobiographies, spent years writing and editing an influential abolitionist newspaper, broke barriers for African Americans in government service, served as an international spokesperson and statesman, and helped combat racial prejudice during the Reconstruction era. He was also nominated to be president of the United States and vice president. Now take a step back and think about Frederick Douglass's aspirations and how he used his voice. Imagine him escaping slavery, escaping slavery. Take a moment and think about what it means to escape slavery. Just to be clear, it means that if he had been caught when he attempted to escape slavery, we would have never known his name. In our modern times, I don't think we ever allow ourselves the time to really imagine what it was like to be a slave, to escape slavery. What do you do when you are free? How do you become Frederick Douglass? Did you know also that Frederick Douglass traveled to Ireland and England to avoid being captured after he published his first book? And while there, his supporters paid for his freedom. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you, my friends. And so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day the nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at a table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little Black boys and Black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and the flesh shall be seen and shall see it together. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Here are some Black stats. 140,918 Black-owned businesses, 44 4.2% of African Americans own a home. 4.8 million are married. 63% are eligible Black voters voted in the last election. There are 99 historically Black colleges and universities. 4.6 million African Americans have a bachelor's degree. When you attend a historically Black college, I attended too, you are going to hear a lot of Maya Angelou poems. There is one poem in particular that I heard every semester, as if every individual who discovered it felt it described who they were or who they wanted to be. This poem could really get a room going. Pretty woman wonder where my secrets lie. I am not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arm, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk in a room just as cool as you please, and man to man, the fellows stand or fall to their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say it's the art of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I am a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. When you talk about aspiration, invention is one of the greatest of aspirations. Just think for a second of all the things that Black people created. Maybe you're having a hard time coming up with something right now. Let me tell you a few. The biscuit cutter was created by L.C. Bailey. The coin changer, James A. Bauer. The cotton planter, Henry Blair. The ironing board, everybody probably used the ironing board today, Sarah Boone. Let me see some other, a horseshoe, Oscar E. Brown. The typewriter, Burbridge Marshman. Lotions and soap, George Washington Carver created peanut butter, paints and stains, lotions and soap, all from peanut butter. Ice cream was also one of the things on this list. The motor, the golf tee for all the golfers out there, the wrench, the bicycle frame, the postal letter box, the toilet, the commode part, that was created by an African-American. The blood plasma, that was created, a helicopter. This list has about 100 different things on it. The dustpan, the fountain pen. That's just a few of the things that were created by Black people. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. One of my friends once invited me to Ghana. She was a white woman who went by the name the Backpacking Granny. When we went to Ghana, we went to the town of Sagakope. She was building a school in that town. So every day we would go to the school and we would work with some of the students. On one day, we decided we were gonna go on some excursions, go see some things. So we started our day off and we went to an alligator farm. I don't know if you guys have ever been to an alligator farm, but there was a whole bunch of alligators there and we fed some alligators. Then after we went to the alligator farm, we went to the tree forest where they had these bridges high up in the sky where we walked across the bridges. It was a little scary, but it was an adventure. After we left the tree forest, they said we were gonna go to the Elmina Castle. I thought they said the Amina Castle. I have a daughter, her name's Amina, but they said the Elmina Castle. And in my mind, I imagined that the Elmina Castle was the castle for the kings and queens of Ghana. I was so excited. I was like, oh man, we're gonna go see the Elmina Castle. This is where the Ghanaian kings and queens were. And so we get there and they begin the tour and they tell us that the Elmina Castle was actually built by the Portuguese as a trading post. As we entered the tour, they took us down into a dungeon. And in this dungeon, it was there was only one window, and I could barely breathe. The air was so thick. We talk about aspiration, and I could barely get my breath out in this dungeon. And they told us in this room that was the size of my office that they would have between 50 and 75 men in this room. And so I was thinking about how I could barely breathe, and then these 50 to 75 men would be in this room. They pointed out marks on the wall and they told us that those marks in the wall represented the height of the feces and the urine in the room. And then I was so upset, I ran out the room and ran out into the yard. And as I was out in the yard, I walked to this huge door and it was leading out to the ocean. And as I got over to the ocean, I looked up and over this big door, it said, the point of no return. And I thought for a second that this was the last space that my ancestors were able to be in their motherland. That I was standing in their same space that the last time they were able to see the land, be in the land, even though it wasn't in a good place at that time, but it was their last time they touched that land. When I got home, I couldn't get it out of my mind. I kept looking at, my friends, people that were here in America, and I was saying how they didn't know who they were in a sense. So I came up with this poem. You don't even know who you are. Aspiration set low like the final round of a limbo contest. Barely getting by the skin of your teeth. Rather be a thief, a thug, or playboy. Rather play boy than be a man. Don't know your ancestry, legacy, and lineage. How we got to this point. Connect the dots and go back. Imagine 250 deep stuff side by side like sardines. Can't wake up, this ain't a bad dream. Reality sometimes is much worse. Feces, urine, and fear a foot high. Calling out to the most high. Why? Praying, hoping, and saying, let me die. Internal strength holding on while days go by. Never giving up, your mind says try. Doing what it takes to keep your life. You don't even know who you are. Descendants of those with strength beyond physical, with powers of the mind that makes mortals invincible, defying impossible odds, breaking down immovable forces, beaten within an inch of existence, moving forward with persistence, never ever going back. But you're falling off track, brain scrambled like on drug commercials, growth stunted like dwarf midgets, baby daddies, and Michael Jackson voice. He. Motivation moving no further than your block in your hood, never realizing that the block under your hood has unlimited potential, only seeking the credentials of being an OG, never taking the time to get a degree. And you have the nerve to look down on me. You don't even know who you are. A star, bright light, bright flower, designed by God with infinite power, looms so large you could be a tower. To describe your greatness would take hours upon hours and hours. You don't even know who you are, but I do. And I'm gonna keep on speaking till you do too. 3 months in a dungeon, 3 months at sea, raping our women, emasculating our men, selling our children. But you just sit back, watching TV and playing with your Wii. Don't you know what happens to those who don't know their history? They repeat it. Don't you know what happens to those who don't know their history? So become a slave again. I know you think I'm talking about whips and chains. Nope, because this time they're coming for your brain. It's insane, the games that they play, but the rules aren't fair, and this is not a game. So read a book, talk to your elders, travel to the motherland, visit a museum, research your history, join a movement, vote, be involved in your community, educate yourself, and most importantly, know who you are. A star, bright light, bright flower, designed by God with infinite power, looms so large you could be a tower. To describe your greatness, would take hours upon hours and hours. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Black History Month. So we always go back. We always go back, talking about our history. But you know, in the last year, maybe two, here are some people who made Black history. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes just made history being the first 2 African-American quarterbacks to play in the Super Bowl. LeBron James just literally 2 weeks ago broke the scoring record in the NBA. Kamala Harris is the first African-American vice president. Amanda Gorman at that same inauguration was the youngest poet laureate to do the inauguration. Ketanji Brown Jackson is the first African-American woman to become a Supreme Court justice. Chike Cameron and Emias Tadias are the co-founders of Black Gen Capital, a Cornell University first Black investment fund. Sydney Barber, she is a U.S. Naval Academy first Black female brigadier commander. Jesse Collins, the first Black executive producer of the Super Bowl halftime show. Jason Wright, the first Black president of the National Football League teams. Aisha Evans, the first Black woman to run a self-driving car company. Nia DaCosta, the first woman to direct a Marvel film. Dana Kennedy, first Black person to head a major publishing imprint. Rosalind Brewer, Walgreens CEO and the only Black woman in the Fortune 500. Dr. Kizmika Corbett led the science on the Moderna COVID vaccine team. Victor J. Glover, first Black astronaut to live in and work in the International Space Station for extended stay. Raphael Warnock, Georgia's first Black senator. Rashida Jones, MSNBC president and first Black executive to run a major television news network. Nicholas Johnson, Princeton's first Black valedictorian. Cynthia Marshall, the first Black CEO of the NBA team. Cori Bush, Missouri's first Black woman of congresswoman, and Noah Harris, the first Black man to be the student body president at Harvard. This is just the other day. We're making history all the time. Our history is not 50 years ago, 100 years ago. These are things that are happening recent. We're making history every day. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. There's always a point in Black History Month, I believe we have to start thinking about moving forward. We have to take all the energy and knowledge about our amazing, unbelievable, unheralded history and start thinking about the future. The reality is we can't live in our history. We can only live in the future. There is more for African Americans to discover and become. Technology is moving at a rate that new breakthroughs are happening almost daily. We have to be in the know. Education is changing too. The jobs of the future are going to require different skills than we had in the past. And those without those unique computer-based skills will be left in the past. What is encouraging to me right now is that there is a Black history maker being born right now. There is one who is working on their history making idea as I'm doing this speech. And there is one who has the potential, but he or she needs a teacher or a community member to give them the access and the support to unlock their full potential. You all are in the perfect position to assist those change agents and those future history makers. Yes, we can look back to our past, but we can't live there, and there are certain parts we never will tolerate again. Black future is where we're going. You can watch, but there is no need for critique. You can walk by our side, but stay on pace. You can assist, but don't get in the way. We are moving, we are achieving, our time is now. Happy Black History Month. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words today. And as I came in, I'll leave you out with a little song. I'll pass it back over to Darlene, and she'll take it from there. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud.
I'm Black and I'm proud, with much voice and aspiration. Yes, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Abdul, for bringing those remarks to us. I just want to take this time to just open up for discussion with the individuals that are here. If you have questions for Abdul, if you have something that you want to reflect on that was just shared, the floor is open now. You can raise your hand. I'll call on you or put it in the chat. I'll try to follow through with that as well.
Is there somewhere where we can get that poem to post?
Which one? Which poem would you want to post?
The last one that you actually created yourself?
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. If you share that, I'll make sure that we send that out and make that available.
So I'll start the conversation. So I chose to take you to use poetry and some tidbits of information because I thought that, you know, whenever we're talking about Black History Month, I feel like we get caught on certain things. Like even me, I couldn't resist putting that part in there for Dr. Martin Luther King because I love it so much. I just wanted to throw it in the speech and hear how I would say it. It sounded good to me. And so I would be very interested though in what I thought I was trying to do was take you on a whirlwind. Like sometimes when I try to talk to people, I try to be like a whirlwind on them. And so I started you out where probably your mood dropped at the beginning because that strange fruit hits very hard, you know? And then what I wanted to do was bring you slowly back up from there. And so, I mean, I guess I'm good. I don't know if I did that. I don't know if I succeeded, but maybe you guys will see me at another day and talk to me.
I think we're just so speechless, to be honest with you. I just apologize, but I just don't have any words. That just was unbelievable. Thank you.
Yeah.
I honestly wanted to share also the sentiment that Christina said, right? Speechless. It was great. And one of the things that I feel really happy about in this moment, right, is that you really clarified how we, right, should be viewing and uplifting our Black community, right? Like you started us with saying when we think about Black History Month, we often think of like the negative things that have happened, right? The slavery and the really horrifying history that comes with our Black community. And, you know, and we oftentimes don't spend enough time talking about just the beauty, the value, the contributions, like who created, right, and giving sort of uplifting those voices and those identities and those individuals, and like name, right, like putting their, like saying their names, right, saying how proud we are is fantastic. So thank you for role modeling that for us as we, you know, unlearn, right, all the biases and all of the things that we should unlearn so that we can uplift and affirm our Black community. So thank you for helping us with that today.
Sharon?
Thank you. And this is obviously not your typical lunch break. So I'm thankful for those who are able to make it. Abdul, what are some ways, so this is good for adults and good for staff to hear, but at the end of the day, we are all commissioned with educating our children. CREC exists for students, for children, for youth. How do we somehow relay the sentiment that you just shared and the way you inspired us? How do we make that real and tangible for our students as a teaching organization?
Well, I think that we have to stay current. So imagine if this month for Black History Month, just that's happening, that last list of 21 Black history people who made Black history, you started with that. Because when we talk about Black history, we're always talking about people they don't know, they can't see, they know, you know, like we're imagining Frederick Douglass. What would Frederick Douglass say? How did he sound? You know, but LeBron is here right now. Ketanji Brown is a Supreme Justice right now. And so when they're able to say like, wait a second, this is the first time that's ever happened in 2022. That's the first time it happens. We need to make Black history real for them. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that that's one of the things we owe our kids is that, and then on the other side of it, I think that we have to balance out. So if like I said, if you looked at the same time span between 1619 and 1865, all of the things that Black people were doing that weren't in slavery, that alone is a whole conversation that is unique and different than we might have. So, you know, I remember when I was in school, when we talked about slavery, nobody balanced it off with the fact that Phyllis Wheatley was writing a book. You know, like nobody ever put that in my mind that there were people that were going to Harvard, that they were going to and graduating from Harvard. There were people that were doing things, you know, and so it makes you wonder why there wasn't more conversation about the other accomplishments that African Americans were making in the same exact time. And when you even think about the abolition, you know, the ending of slavery, you know, let's fully discuss the whole truth of it, that Lincoln made the decision. That wasn't his initial decision. He was forced to make that decision because he wanted to bring the Union back together. And he needed to be able to have the help of African Americans to be able to fight this war and win the war and all this kind of different stuff. And so it's like, as you just think about the different segments of history, you know, one of the things I say is that Black history is American history. It's tied in there from the beginning to the end, to this very day. And our children will be uplifted when they know how great we are. They'll be uplifted when they know the different things that they had, that we were doing, and that we were making an impact all through our history.
You know, Abdul, again, I just want to thank you for the time that you took to really to dig deep and just do a wonderful presentation, and truly taking into consideration the theme of Black History Month here at CREC. And, you know, the words for the theme were very intentionally put together by the committee. And the piece of "it's still we thrive," I think that your words of from a historical perspective to present day and into the future were just so spot on and just inspirational. And if there's no question for me of the ride that you took us on, and just hitting home with that, and just the motivation and the inspiration that I personally received in what you shared. So I just want to say thank you again for that.
Thank you. I'd also like to just emphasize how important that Black future is, because that's the thing. Like, when you really dig into it, you know, we need to know the history, because, you know, I was telling some men this morning I was at Carl Robinson Prison, and I was saying to them that, you know, I stand on the shoulders of great men, of great people who allow for us to be here. But if you don't think there's any shoulders that you stand on, then you have a confusion about who you are. So that's why it's important for our kids to know their history. But the thing that once you know your history and you know that you stand on the shoulders of great people, then you have to be able to start thinking about your future. You have to be able to see, like, out into the horizon and say, well, what is the impact that I'm gonna make in this world? And they have to know that they have the potential to make an impact, that this kid can do something just as great as the people that they stand on the shoulders of. And so that's a very important thing, is that we lift them up to be able to see what is the possibility. That's the thing about aspiration, is that it's a possibility. And so we always have to look forward into the future. And so I'm like wired right now. I know, so I'm like, you know, just, and so I appreciate you know, you guys listening to me today. If you know, I always love a conversation. I see all these doctors on here. I thought a doctor might have something, they might want to analyze this or something, like, to break it down, doc. Well, I don't know. Darlene, you gonna wrap us up? I don't know if anybody wants to. I hope that later some of the deep things that I did talk about hit you, because I really would pass on any of the pats on the back, and I would really like to make sure that some of the things that I slid in there really, really hit home.
And, you know, I just like to share with that Abdul has graciously allowed us to record this session. And so we'll have it be made available. Everyone can go back and listen to it again, and really, you know, as Abdul just encouraged us, just processing some of the things that he just shared, and also to sharing the poem that he created.
There were 2 poems in there. Black Lives Matter was a poem too.
Yes, yes, very well taken. All right, well, thank you all so much for attending this session and the keynote. And Abdul, again, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us here at CREC. And stay tuned for one more additional Black History Month activity, CRECies, especially those of you who are at CREC Central Campus next week. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.